If you love reading or just prefer to listen, welcome to John Smeaton's Regular Reads.
Hello, my name's Mr. Parker and I'll be reading Cirque by Darren Shan. Introduction. I've always been fascinated by spiders. I used to collect them when I was younger. I'd spend hours rooting through the dusty old shed at the bottom of our garden, hunting the cobwebs for lurking 8-legged predators. When I found one, I'd bring it in and let it loose in my bedroom. It used to drive my mum mad. Usually, the spider would slip away after no more than a day or two, never to be seen again, but sometimes they hung around longer. I had one who made a cobweb above my bed and stood sentry for almost a month. Going to sleep, I used to imagine the spider creeping down, crawling into my mouth, sliding down my throat and laying loads of eggs in my belly. The baby spiders would hatch after a while and eat me alive, from the inside out. I loved being scared when I was little. When I was 9, my mum and dad gave me a small tarantula. It wasn't poisonous or very big, but it was the greatest gift I'd ever received. I played with that spider almost every waking hour of the day. Gave it all sorts of treats, flies and cockroaches and tiny worms, spoilt it rotten. Then one day, I did something stupid. I'd been watching a cartoon in which one of the characters was sucked up by a vacuum cleaner. No harm came to him. He squeezed out of the bag, dusty and dirty and mad as hell. It was very funny. So funny, I tried it myself, with the tarantula. Needless to say, things didn't happen quite like they did in the cartoon. The spider was ripped to pieces. I cried a lot, but it was too late for tears. My pet was dead. It was my fault and there was nothing I could do about it. My parents nearly hollered the roof down when they found out what I'd done. The tarantula had cost quite a bit of money. They said I was an irresponsible fool, and from that day on, they never again let me have a pet, not even an ordinary garden spider. I started with that tale from the past for 2 reasons. One will become obvious as this book unfolds. The other reason is, this is a true story. I don't expect you to believe me. I wouldn't believe it myself if I hadn't lived it, but it is. Everything I describe in this book happened just as I tell it. The thing about life is, when you do something stupid, it normally costs you. In books, the heroes can make as many mistakes as they like. It doesn't matter what they do, because everything comes good in the end. They'll beat the bad guys and put things right, and everything ends up hunky-dory. In real life, vacuum cleaners kill spiders. If you cross a busy road without looking, you get whacked by a car. If you fall out of a tree, you break some bones. But real life's nasty. It's cruel. It doesn't care about heroes and happy endings, and the way things should be. In real life, bad things happen. People die. Fights are lost. Evil often wins. I just wanted to make that clear before I began. One more thing. My name isn't really Darren Shan. Everything's true in this book, except for names. I've had to change them because, well, by the time you get to the end, you'll understand. I haven't used any real names. Not mine, my sister's, my friends, or teachers, nobody's. I'm not even going to tell you the name of my town or country. I daren't. Anyway, that's enough of an introduction. If you're ready, let's begin. If this was a made-up story, it would begin at night, with the storm blowing, and owls hooting and rattling noises under the bed. But this is a real story, so I have to begin where it really started. It started in a toilet. Chapter 1. I was in the toilet at school, sitting down, humming a song. I had my trousers on. I'd come in near the end of English class, feeling sick. My teacher, Mr. Dalton, is great about things like that. He's smart, and knows when you're faking and when you're being serious. He took one look at me when I raised my hand and said I was ill, then nodded his head and told me to make for the toilet. "Throw up whatever's bugging you, Darren," he said. "Then get your behind back in here." I wish every teacher was as understanding as Mr. Dalton. In the end, I didn't get sick, but felt queasy, so I stayed on the toilet. I heard the bell ring for the end of class, and everybody came rushing out on their lunch break. I wanted to join them, but knew Mr. Dalton would give out if he saw me in the yard so soon. He doesn't get mad if you trick him, but he goes quiet and won't speak to you for ages. And that's almost worse than being shouted at. So there I was, humming, watching my watch, waiting. Then I heard someone calling my name. "Darren! Hey, Darren! Have you fallen in or what?" I grinned. It was Steve Leopard, my best friend. Steve's real surname was Leonard, but everyone called him Steve Leopard. And not just because the name sounds like. Steve used to be what my mum calls a wild child. He raised hell wherever he went, got into fights, stole in shops. One day, he was still in a pushchair. He found a sharp stick and prodded passing women with it. No prizes for guessing where he stuck it. He was feared and despised everywhere he went. But not by me. I've been his friend since Montessori. When we first met, my mum says I was drawn to his wildness, but I just thought he was a great guy to be with. He had a fierce temper and threw scary tantrums when he lost it. But I simply ran away when that happened and came back again when he'd calmed down. Steve's reputation had softened over the years. His mum took him to see a lot of good counsellors who taught him how to control himself, but he was still a minor legend in the schoolyard and not someone you messed with, even if you were bigger and older than him. "Hey, Steve," I called back. "I'm here." I hit the door so he'd know which one I was behind. He hurried over and I opened the door. He smiled when he saw me sitting down with my trousers on. "Did you puke?" he asked. "No," I said. "Do you think you're gonna?" "Maybe," I said. Then I leaned forward all of a sudden and made a sick noise. Bleh! But Steve Leopard knew me too well to be fooled. "Give my boots a polish while you're down there," he said, and laughed when I pretended to spit on his shoes and rub them with a sheet of toilet paper. "Did I miss anything in class?" I asked, sitting up. "Nah," he said, "the usual crap." "Did you do your history homework?" I asked. "It doesn't have to be in till tomorrow, does it?" he asked, getting worried. Steve's always forgetting about homework. "The day after tomorrow," I told him. "Oh," he said, relaxing. "Even better, I thought." He stopped and frowned. "Hold on," he said. "Today's Thursday. The day after would be..." "Gotcha!" I yelled, punching him on the shoulder. "Ow!" he shouted. "That hurt." He rubbed his arm, but I could tell he wasn't really hurt. "Are you coming out?" he asked then. "I thought I'd stay in here and admire the view," I said, leaning back on the toilet seat. "Quit messing," he said. We were 5-1 down when I came in. We're probably 6 or 7 down now. We need you." He was talking about football. We play a game every lunchtime. My team normally wins, but we'd lost a lot of our best players. Dave Morgan broke his leg, Sam White transferred to another school when his family moved, and Danny Curtin had stopped playing football in order to spend lunch hanging out with Sheila Lee, the girl he fancied. Idiot. I'm our best full forward. There are better defenders and midfielders, and Tommy Jones is the best goalkeeper in the whole school, but I'm the only one who can stand up front and score 4 or 5 times a day without fail. "Okay," I said, standing. "I'll save you. I'll score a hat-trick every day this week. It would be a pity to stop now." We passed the older guys, smoking round the sinks as usual, and hurried to my locker so I could change into my trainers. I used to have a great pair which I won in a writing competition, but the laces snapped a few months ago, and Rubber along the sides started to fall off. And then my feet grew. The pair I have now are okay, but they're not the same. We were 8-3 down when I got onto the pitch. It wasn't a real pitch, just a long stretch of yard with painted goalposts at either end. Whoever painted them was a right idiot. He put the crossbar too high at one end and too low at the other. "Never fear, Hotshot Shan is here," I shouted as I ran onto the pitch. A lot of players laughed and groaned, but I could see my teammates picking up and our opponents growing worried. I made a great start and scored 2 goals inside a minute. It looks like we might come back to draw or win, but time ran out. If I'd arrived earlier, we'd have been okay, but the bell rang just as I was hitting my stride, so we lost 9-7. As we were leaving the pitch, Alan Morris ran into the yard, panting and red-faced. They're my 3 best friends, Steve Leopard, Tommy Jones and Alan Morris. We must be the oddest 4 people in the whole world, because only one of us, Steve, has a nickname. "Look what I found," Alan yelled, waving a soggy piece of paper round under our noses. "What is it?" Tommy asked, trying to grab it. "It's..." Alan began, but stopped when Mr. Dalton shouted at us. "You 4, inside!" he roared. "We're coming, Mr. Dalton," Steve roared back. Steve is Mr. Dalton's favourite and gets away with stuff that the rest of us couldn't do, like when he uses swear words sometimes in his stories. If I put in some of the words Steve has, I'd have been kicked out long ago. But Mr. Dalton had a soft spot for Steve because he's special. Sometimes he's brilliant in class and gets everything right, while other times he can't even spell his own name. Mr. Dalton says he's a bit of an idiot savant, which means he's a stupid genius. Anyway, even though he's Mr. Dalton's pet, not even Steve can get away with turning up late for class. So, whatever Alan did, it would have to wait. We trudged back to class, sweaty and tired after the game, and began our next lesson. Little did I know that Alan's mysterious piece of paper was to change my life forever. For the worse.
Thanks for tuning in. You've been a part of John Smeaton's Regular Read.